Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdy Multiverse and yet another breakdown. Today we will be breaking down and giving our initial thoughts on the first and second episode of the Ahsoka series, as we did get a double episode premiere, the title of episode 1 being Master and Apprentice. Starting the first episode off with the returning and the iconic opening crawl, catching us up with what's going on. Reading as follows: The evil galactic empire has fallen and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile once presumed dead. Rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which would galvanize the Imperial Remnants and start another war. After the final events of the Rebel series, Ezra and Thrawn both went missing and have not been seen ever since, as they were taken into hyperspace by the Purrgil. This entire plot of Thrawn returning with a new version of the Empire is based off of the incredible novels written by Timothy Zahn. The next part reads, former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of a secret map which is vital to the enemy's plan. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner Morgan Elsbeth is transported to the New Republic for trial. Morgan Elsbeth was in Season 2 of The Mandalorian when Ahsoka had her first appearance in live action. She is where the Beskar spear came from, and Ahsoka defeated her in battle and arrested her after interrogating her regarding Thrawn's location. And if you aren't sure why Ahsoka is referred to as a former Jedi Knight, this is because she turned away from Anakin and the entire Jedi Order after she was framed by Barriss Offee for the Jedi Temple bombing, where the Jedi Council did not believe in her at first, causing her to go on another path. Then panning down to a New Republic starcruiser in a pretty similar shot to the one at the very beginning of A New Hope when Vader's starcruiser was tailing the Tantive 4. Morgan Elsbeth is being held as prisoner on this ship and the crew are notified of a ship approaching, where the captain weirdly allows them to board the ship after they claim to be Jedi, even though he scoffs and calls their claims to be a bluff. The captain and his men go to meet the supposed Jedi in the hangar, where we can see that the people a part of the New Republic are much more diverse than we have ever really seen before, as we can see plenty of different species in their ranks, including this Mon Calamari, which is the same species as the infamous Admiral Akbar. The supposed Jedi's ship lands and the ramp opens, and the two alleged Jedi, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, enter the hangar. The introduction to these two characters here really felt like a perfect inversion of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's introduction in The Phantom Menace. The captain stops the two from going any further as they request to see the prisoner that's held on board, as he calls them Imperial trash and threatens to arrest them. So Baylan has his apprentice, Shin Hati, take out the guards as Baylan kills the captain and assures him that they are in fact not Jedi. As the two split up, Shin Hati heads to the bridge to take out the rest of the crew that is there, while Baylan makes his way to Morgan Elsbeth and her cell, where he gets his own hallway scene just as Vader and Maul did, quickly getting to the cell and opening it, freeing Elsbeth from her capture with his force power. As they make their way out of the ship, Elsbeth informs Baylan that a Jedi is responsible for putting her in that cell, and that Jedi is of course Ahsoka Tano. And speaking of Ahsoka, we cut to her next as she makes her way through some ruins on the planet known as Arcana, and we later learn that this place was actually built by the Night Sisters of Dathomir, very powerful witches who were also quite strong in the Force. Ahsoka uses her sabers to cut a hole down into the room below, where she puts together the pieces to solve a puzzle, much like something you would see straight out of the Jedi Fallen Order games. And by doing so, she unlocks a fourth pillar that rises and reveals the orb orb that was depicted in all of the different carvings around the room. This orb being the map to where Thrawn may be residing. After retrieving the orb, she contacts a droid known as Huyang, who we have actually seen quite a few times already, specifically in the Clone Wars, as he has been around for hundreds of years assisting Jedi younglings and Padawans with the construction of their lightsabers. The communications between Huyang and Ahsoka are cut out as they are too far away from one another, so Ahsoka jumps out of the room to be met by a group of HK assassin droids waiting for her, as they are too looking for the orb. HK assassin droids are the same style of droid as the iconic Old Republic character HK-47. She swiftly takes the droids out, causing them to initiate their self-destruct protocol, and right as they explode, she gets aboard her T-6 Jedi shuttle with Huyang. Ahsoka makes sure to remind Huyang to stay closer next time so that their communications aren't cut off, where he reminds her that that is the job of a Jedi Padawan, not only reminding her that she once had a Padawan within Sabine, but also her time as a Padawan to Anakin. Fleet Command contacts them using the codename Fulcrum, which was Ahsoka's rebel codename during the time of the Empire and in the Rebels series, as she is called to the ship that Elsbeth was broken out of, reuniting with Hera Syndulla on board the ship, and of course Hera was one of the main characters in the Rebels series. Her family has a long history of sparking up rebellions and fighting for what is right, as her father Cham Syndulla had a major role in the freedom of Ryloth in the Clone Wars. They go over the situation as Hera presents a hologram of the two supposed Jedi to Ahsoka. She doesn't recognize either of them, and it would be hard to recognize them as there are very few Force users left around the galaxy, especially after the events of Order 66 and the Jedi Purge. So Huyang will take a copy of the hologram to identify the lightsabers and their owners if he can. Ahsoka shows Hera the orb and tells her that this is a way to find Thrawn and in turn also find Ezra. Hera reminds Ahsoka that Sabine is the right person to help out with this sort of stuff as the orb needs to be unlocked. We cut to the planet of Lothal, which is actually Ezra's homeworld, where we see the Governor Ryder Azadi giving a speech and paying homage to the rebels, specifically Ezra and the rest of the Ghost crew that sacrificed so much and even themselves. Ryder Azadi was also featured in the Rebel series quite a bit himself and assisted the Ghost crew with some of their missions on Lothal. He attempts to introduce Sabine to the crowd as she was supposed to speak to them herself, but of course with the character that Sabine is, she is nowhere to be found. Azadi tries to stall and has Senator Jai Kell speak to the crowd in the meantime. Now, Jai Kell was another Rebels character. He was a former cadet at the Academy of Young Imperials alongside Ezra during his undercover mission. Rocking out to some music while speeding away from the city is Sabine Wren, always acting rebellious even when not fighting against the Empire. She's also styling out as usual with all the different colorations from her painting on the speeder and some drawings of loth cats on her helmet. She speeds away from the city and heads to the old communications tower, which was formerly Ezra's own home. As she walks inside, we can see more of the artwork on the wall, such as stormtroopers' helmets being X'd off. She makes sure to feed her loth cat before going through a bin of her stuff, which we do get to see Ezra's lightsaber wrapped up inside of the box, and her Mandalorian helmet below the table. She activates and watches an old holo message from Ezra, which was recorded right before he sacrificed himself and was taken away into hyperspace alongside Thrawn by the Purrgil. Cutting to the now destroyed Night Sister ruins on Arcana, where Shin Hati and Morgan Elsbeth stand amongst the destruction. Here we get a big reveal as Morgan Elsbeth reveals that she herself is a Night Sister. So, one of the powerful witches of Dathomir, but also a survivor, as she says. She says this because during the Clone Wars, Dathomir and the Night Sisters were attacked and nearly drawn extinct by General Grievous and his forces, where only a few Night Sisters known seemingly survived, including Asajj Ventress, Merrin from the Jedi Fallen Order games, and now obviously Morgan Elsbeth as well. Baylan informs Elsbeth that Ahsoka has the orb, so she orders Shin Hati to head to Lothal to take out Sabine Wren, who they refer referred to as Ahsoka's apprentice, clearly a plan to draw Ahsoka out and get the orb for themselves. Where we go back to the old communications tower as Sabine is sleeping and having nightmares as she hears echoes of Ezra speaking to her. In the room we can see quite a few little Easter eggs, some old stormtrooper and scout trooper helmets laying around, as well as one painted scout trooper helmet, which used to belong to Ezra. We saw him wear this helmet on quite a few missions in the Rebel series. Ahsoka and Sabine reunite next as Ahsoka informs her of the orb and catches her up with everything that is going on, in turn seeking her help with finding a way to unlock and reveal the map within the orb. The two get into a bit of a rough spot debating or arguing about Ahsoka's disappearance and how she hasn't been there for Sabine, especially knowing that Sabine was her Padawan or was meant to be her Padawan. Hu Yang ends up interrupting the two with an update on the lightsaber scanned from the hologram of Baylan and Shin. Before going to find out what the update is all about, Sabine tries to get Ahsoka to let her take the orb with her so that she can think clearly. Of course, Ahsoka says no, as it is too dangerous and they could end up losing the orb, which would cause another war. Hu Yang and Ahsoka take a look at the two lightsabers where he explains that he knows of their techniques of crafting the lightsabers, meaning that either both or one of them used to be a Jedi. He doesn't recognize Shin Hati's hilt, but he states that he does recognize the other hilt, as apparently Baylan Skoll is the only person he has ever seen design a hilt in such a way. And of course, Sabine doesn't listen to Ahsoka at all and takes the orb and speeds back off to the tower as Ahsoka walks back out to an empty room. A probe droid watches over Sabine as she heads back home to the tower, and it returns to Shin Hati in a near identical scene as to when Darth Maul was watching over Qui-Gon and the others on Tatooine in The Phantom Menace. Hera talks to Ahsoka over a hologram and tries to assure her that Sabine and the orb will be fine, and Ahsoka should have expected a bit of disobedience as Sabine is a Mandalorian. She says that Ahsoka's master likely found her difficult at times as well, where the whole tone sort of changes as Ahsoka explains that she never finished her training with Anakin, as she walked away from him and the Order after Barriss Offee's actions. Which, by the way, I think we need to see Barriss Offee again, and this show would be the perfect place to have her return, as her story is unfinished as well. After studying the orb for some time, Sabine eventually finds the key to opening it as it reveals a pathway to another galaxy, where HK assassin droids end up ambushing her and taking the orb for themselves, where she uses her Mandalorian combat skills to take one of the droids out as she runs back inside to grab Ezra's old lightsaber and go after the orb, where she is met by Shin Hati downstairs, igniting their lightsabers and getting into a very clearly one-sided battle as Sabine hasn't been training at all. Ahsoka and Hu Yang try to get to the tower as fast as possible to save Sabine and the orb, but it's too late as Shin gets a move in and stabs Sabine with her saber. As Ahsoka gets off the ship and runs towards her and Shin and the orb run off, Sabine passes out and the first episode ends off. Moving on to the second episode, which is titled Toil and Trouble, where we start off as Ahsoka hears Sabine's nightmares and decides to wake her up. Sort of reminds me of how Anakin had a lot of nightmares about Padme in the prequels. So clearly Sabine's lightsaber wound did not kill her, as why would it? She is crucial to the story and is one of the main characters, but I still would assume Qui-Gon is fuming in his grave seeing the amount of characters that have been stabbed by a lightsaber and survived. Sabine informs Ahsoka that she opened the map, which is where she was ambushed and the orb was stolen, and she does not remember anything about the map or the locations on it. Cutting to Baylan and Shin as they land at a sort of ancient relic location as Baylan places the orb down in the middle of all of it where it does not activate. So clearly they need Morgan Elsbeth for the rest of this. Baylan looks to the sky and we can see just a small glimpse of what looks like a Purrgil. Ahsoka returns to the communication tower listening to the echoes and feeling the tremors in the force and following the steps of what exactly happened there before she she arrived. When she gets inside, she finds an HK assassin droid waiting for her, where she takes it out like it's nothing, and bringing its head back to Sabine so that she can work on it and discover where the droids are coming from. And of course, at the last second before the head is about to explode from the data mining, Hu Yang pulls the plug and Sabine finds out that the droids are coming from the planet of Corellia, which is actually where Han Solo came from, where we learn that Elsbeth had factories on Corellia during the time of the Empire that may have not been checked on since that time. Elsbeth arrives at the relic site and uses her Night Sister abilities to activate the map, as we can see the green glowing flame below it, which was the color of the Night Sister's magical abilities. She is asked what this place is, and she says that it was built by an ancient species from another galaxy. Now, when I heard this, the first thing that I thought of was the Rakata, also known as the Infinite Empire. They were known for leaving star maps on different planets, which led to the Star Forge. And here we are with Elsbeth at a star map leading to a distant galaxy, the pathway to Purrgil they call it. Now on this star map we can actually see depictions of the Purrgil, the space whales that had the ability to jump into hyperspace. The Purrgil are responsible for the disappearance of Thrawn as well as Ezra, as they took them into hyperspace in the end of Rebels. Baylan states that the younglings at the Jedi Temple used to refer to Purrgil as a fairy tale, but Elsbeth says that they are fairy tales based on truth. With his connection to the Force, Baylan feels as if the path forward is clouded. However, Elsbeth can feel and hear Thrawn's voice calling to her all the way from another galaxy. And the pathway to Purrgil is a way to get where Thrawn has been banished. Shin questions what will happen to Baylan and her when they get to Thrawn, where he says that for some it will mean war, but for them it will mean power beyond belief. Ahsoka and Hera arrive on Corellia to investigate the HK assassin droid situation, and in the background is the ghost ship, and the sassy and stand-up droid known as Chopper on board of it. A major member of the ghost crew in Rebels, and a droid with a big personality. We can also see a few Imperial Star Destroyers being taken apart in the background, as this is a shipyard taking these ships apart to gather parts and build new things with them. While speaking with the man in charge of everything going on here, they learn that all of the ex-Imperials that worked here still do, and they were never let go, and now are just working under the New Republic, where they suggest Sabine being Ahsoka's apprentice once more, where Ahsoka still acts in a hesitant way. Cutting to see a medical droid finishing up the healing process of Sabine's lightsaber wound, as Hu Yang walks in and says that there is a chance for a new beginning for Sabine, stating that Ezra's old lightsaber is now hers, and that is so as she has added her own personalization to it, handing her the saber as Sabine is now healed up and ready to go. While speaking about the dismantled Imperial ships, some red flags are brought about, especially after Hera notices a huge hyperdrive core is being built right outside the window, where they learn that 9 of these have already been built before this as well. These hyperdrive cores are way too large for any New Republic ship, so more suspicions are brought about. They ask for information about the cores, where the information is labeled as classified, but that's actually impossible as Hera is a general for the New Republic, so nothing is supposed to be classified to her, and yet she is being denied this information as tensions rise. Ahsoka questions them about the HK assassin droids, where one of the protocol droids speaks up and says that they saw one of those droids on the planet, and the last time that they saw one was on the shuttle with the hyperdrive core on it that is now starting to take off. All of the workers in the room yell out for the Empire and try to take Ahsoka and Hera out, but they are taken down and later arrested. Hera races to the Ghost to chase after the shuttle after Ahsoka jumps out of the window and is met by an Inquisitor named Merrick. Clearly one of, if not the last Inquisitor alive, now loyal to Baylan and Morgan Elsbeth. So either this guy was really lucky during the time of the Empire, or he was one of the most skilled Inquisitors visitors there ever were. We also have zero information about him and have not seen his face nor heard his voice a single time. So Merrick is a big mystery for now. Maybe he will turn out to be some sort of big reveal down the line, but who knows. And also, by the way, his name Merrick is also the same name as the bounty hunter Embo's Anuba companion. And fun fact, Embo was voiced by Dave Filoni himself. Ahsoka and Merrick get into a lightsaber duel as Hera chases after the shuttle that is carrying the hyperdrive core as it fires upon the Ghost, while Chopper, being his sassy self, finds a tracking beacon and throws it on the shuttle, flexing his robot arms in success, as Merrick runs away back to Shin Hati aboard his ship, forcing his spinning lightsaber back towards him behind Ahsoka as she swiftly dodges it like it's nothing. Sabine, now back at the tower, lays her Mandalorian armor out, one shoulder pauldron donning the sigil of the rebellion and the other donning the sigil of Clan Wren of Mandalore, being her own house of course, and before donning her own helmet she cuts her hair. Sabine contacts Ahsoka via holo message and tells her that she is ready. Now at the exact point where Rebels ended off, with identical scenes as Sabine walks to the mural of the Ghost crew, touching the painting of Ezra in hopes of reuniting with him soon, as Ahsoka stands behind her, waiting for her. The two are now ready to seek Thrawn and their former friend Ezra. Hugh Yang informs them that Hera's tracking beacon has tracked the shuttle to the Denab system orbiting the planet of Cetos. Cutting to the construction of the hyperdrive system, this thing is massive and it has multiple cores in it as well. So obviously they're getting as much power as possible to travel to this new galaxy. Elsbeth is contacted by Baylan, Shin, and Marok, where Baylan informs her that Ahsoka is coming, but nothing can get in the way of their journey, as Elsbeth says. But to kill Ahsoka would be a shame, as there are so few Jedi left in the galaxy. This just really shows that Baylan is a warrior who may be aligned with the morals of the Empire now, but he still has a sense of honor, and it also seems that he has trained Shin in the ways of a Jedi, as she does have a Padawan braid, as the two are just leaning on the edge of being dark Jedi, but not at all too Sith. Elsbeth questions if Baylan is conflicted, but he denies it and says that he is just being honest. Now, I could definitely see Shin Hati turning back to the light side or to the good side, as the two do seem a bit hesitant at times, especially her. Anyways though, Elsbeth turns her back and awaits the construction of their device to find their banished leader, Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is where the second episode ends off. Overall, I thought that these two episodes were an incredible start to the series, and it really catches everyone up with what is going on, especially those that did not watch the Rebels series. The episodes had a bit of a slow start to them, and I really liked that, as we know exactly where we are going with the story now. There were some dragged on parts, but that's how we get the full picture, so nothing really negative to say. The visuals, the action, the acting, all have been superb so far. The world building was absolutely incredible in these episodes, and the characterization of these new characters, Baylan and Shin Hati, has been great so far. And of course, may Ray Stevenson rest in peace. Super excited for the next episode and to see where we go with all of these new characters. A very great start to the series and easily 2 9 out of 10 episodes for me. But of course, I would like to hear about your thoughts on these episodes as well, so make sure to leave them down below. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed our breakdown and review on these episodes, don't forget to give it a like, and with that being said, we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.